Hey, how everybody doing today? What we got in front of us here is the Husqvarna 575 that last July I was doing some cutting, and it ingested a bunch of wood fines. Didn't burn it clear up, but it had sawdust clear down in the crankcase, so I tore it clear apart, new bearings. I'm going to try to show you. I'm going to try. Let me get my flashlight. See all the wood fines down in there? That's inside the filter. And the filter itself isn't bad. But what happened was where this part here seals up against the air horn on the carburetor, it wasn't sealed. I'm not sure. The seal up in there looks to be good, so I don't know if I just didn't have it seated down on there properly or what was going on. This is not a Husqvarna air filter. I'm not sure who made this. I'm thinking it was a Stens, but I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, I had a little issue last year when I was cleaning it up. I decided to do a little port work. And I believe, I'm almost sure that I showed this on video one other time. But these transfers, they're a little bit different than any other saw. The transfers come up through, and the transfers are in front of the cylinder, similar to this right here. These two passages that loop up around the exhaust port are the transfers, and they meet up right there. So anyway, I decided I'd do a little port work and open them up, try to get a little more power out of it. And you can see what I've done there. I did open it up, smooth it out a little bit. I made more of a radius, a less radius back here than what there was to begin with, just to try to get it to flow a little bit better. Well, in the process of doing that, I ground a hole through the case. See it right there? Right there where that light's shining through? Should not be there. So, wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I kind of hem-hawed around. I was going to try to patch that. I actually bought some stuff. I can't remember, it was a powder. Can't remember the name of it. Said it would work. But in the meantime, I found me another case half. So this case half, I've already got the bearings installed. I've done similar work to it. I just didn't go as far this time. So, that brings us to today. I'm going to pull the crankshaft today. So, what I've got here, a lot of you guys out there are probably going to recognize this. This is a Matthew Olson kit. Okay, I'm good, I got it all. The 575s have the typical, I believe it's 12 millimeter 1/0 right hand thread on the flywheel side. So your typical rod with your typical, I'd like I said, I believe it's 12 by 1.0. Don't hold me to that. But that's pretty much standard across a lot of platforms. But it has a different PTO side thread than a lot of your other saws, especially in the Husqvarna platform. If I remember, it's a 15-125. Again, don't hold me to that, but it's a special rod that Mattyo had to make up. Because the standard rod for the 372s, the 365s, them style saws was smaller because it's like a 14 millimeter instead of the 15 millimeter. So I've got the right rods. Now let me say this. Believe me when I say this. Large sleeve, large saw. This is a large saw. The reason I say that is because I assembled a 576 a year or so ago using the small sleeve and it stuck. So I learned my lesson. Large sleeve, large saw. Small saw, small sleeve. This is a stuffer crank. See if I can't get one of these off. And all it is, a stuffer crank, it's just a typical crankshaft if you don't know. Just a regular crank that has these caps, these stuffer caps on it, that kind of take up space when it's inside the crankshaft. Or not crankshaft, but crankcase. I'm not an engineer, so I don't really understand the reasoning behind that, other than the fact that, in my opinion, not my opinion, it obviously takes up space. So it decreases the amount of area you have inside your crankcase with these stuffers in there. When you decrease the amount of area that you can fill, then you decrease the amount of charge that you can put into the cylinder. I think this was Husqvarna's way of trying to appease, I guess would be the word, the EPA, to get their emissions down to where they needed to be to pass emissions for this size saw. I could be completely wrong on that, but that's my opinion. I honestly don't see why this saw would not run without these stuffers in it. I mean, that's all it is, just a metal cap with a couple pieces of plastic that goes around the counter throw and around the wrist pin there, and it basically is just taking up space. One could probably, and I may do that on my next build because I've got another 575 I want to build. One should be able to take these stuffers out and put it together and make it run, because it does not use the plastic there to stop when you're pulling it into the bearing. Still has a little land right there that goes up against the bearing race on both sides. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but the land on the crank is just a hair higher than what the plastic is. So, like I said, that brings us to today. I'm going to pull the crank, show you how easy these tools are to use, and let's get started here. I'm going to pull the PTO side first. You basically just get it started. Sets in place just like so. The rod's all the way down. The piston's already supported into your crankcase there so it can't flop to the side. Again, like I said, large saw, large sleeve. Ask me, I know, because I tried the small sleeve on the large saw one other time and almost didn't get the sleeve off. I was lucky though. And this large sleeve does ride on the inner race, not on the outer race. Get my sleeve around here where I can get my little handle in there. Okay. And it's just that easy. This is ready to pull in. I'm going to put just a dab of 3-in-1 oil on it here. Okay. I like using 3-in-1. That's just something I've always done. Now we'll show you how easy this is to pull in. And you're just going to go until it snugs up and stops pulling. I'm not putting any pressure on this at all. The wrench is basically just doing its own pulling. I mean, just doing it with my thumb. See, the wrench is pulling it on through right there. And that's how easy it is to pull these things. And again, I'm holding the piston, you know, making sure the piston is not bound up. I'm just going to pull it until it stops. Right there it is. That's all the farther you got to go. It's tight right now. The piston's still, it's not bound up. And guys, that's all there is to it. That's how easy these tools are to use. Sleeve pulls right off. There's that. I got half of the assemblies done already. Turning good and nice and smooth. It's pulled all the way through. There you go. Okay. I'm not 100% prepared for this. I got to dig my pins out, put them in my other case half, get my gasket, get some 3-bond tacked onto it here. So when I'm ready to pull the other half on, I will come back and film pulling the case halves together, putting the other half on. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I've got the 1184 3-bond. I just put a small skim coat on both sides of the gasket. I've got the gasket installed on the PTO side. So now we're going to go ahead and pull this case half together. Oh, hold on. Almost forgot here. A little bit of oil. Not a whole lot. Just kind of helps it pull on a little bit easier. Again, I like using 3-in-1 because it's a real lightweight oil. Again, large saw, large sleeve. I believe, like I said, I believe it's a 12.10. Up wrong end. Threads onto the crankshaft where the flywheel nut goes. That's tight. I'm going to let the piston be cleared out the bottom of the stroke. That's going to go right down into the seal pocket. Put my little handle in here. This is going to come up a little bit, so I'm going to have to hold this. As I get this going together, I will install a couple case screws just as guide pins to get it pulled together so nothing actually gets bound up. It'll just help it along all. So again, here we go. And it is pulling right on. Okay, let's see if I can't get a couple case bolts in there real fast. Yeah. What's gonna... see if I can get this in. Yeah, that works a little bit better. Like I said, all I'm doing is just getting these things started. Just tighten them down until they get a little resistance to them. There we go. Now it's starting to crank the case over sideways a little bit. So now I'll put another one in the front. Like I said, I'm only using these as guides. This in here might not even bite. It might not be on enough to bite. Yeah, it's not going to bite, so I'm going to have to tighten this down just a little bit more. Not a whole lot. Let's see if we can't get it to bite now. Yeah. Started pulling the crankcase, so I'm just going to stop right there. Now we're just going to go ahead and pull this thing home. And that helps get it centered onto the dowel pins also, onto your locating pins. That just popped onto the front one. Okay, there it is. That's all the way, guys. Okay, I'm not going to bore you all with anything. I'll do little segments of it. I'll post little segments. So we'll come back and we'll get them posted up. See you in a little bit. I don't know why I didn't leave this on. Show you tightening up these case bolts. Guess I should have. They're all tight. Okay. It's not going to spin around real easy because this style saw has the proprietary seal. It's part of the bearing, so it's got some resistance in that seal, but it does spin fairly easy. So now I'm going to take and cut the tabs off here. I guess I'll show that on video. I just use a single-sided razor blade. Okay, nice and smooth on the back, or the front, depending on the muffler side. It's nice and smooth on the muffler side. Nice and smooth on the carburetor side. I'll deal with that after a bit. So now, rather than fight doing this, I'm going to put the tank handle on it. Helps it set more square, more level. And again, it's just your typical, you got to work it in there. Before we do that, let's crank that down. This is just your typical Husqvarna. You got to get it worked in there. You got a pin over here on this side. You got to get down in. Just like that. It's not hard. Okay. So now I'm not going to bore you all with putting bolts, taps, whatever you want to call them. So when I get ready to set the cylinder, I'll come back. I'll show you setting the cylinder down.